All right. Today we're going to talk about works cited and bibliography. Exciting stuff. I noticed you don't cite your sources. That's living too dangerously. So you need to make sure that we know how to do this. You're going to do this in this class, obviously, and then it is something you will be doing in many other classes in the future, I'm sure. So it's a very specific process and skill set. So once you know how to do it, it's very easy to apply it to other papers and other projects that you do in the future. So once we get the hang of it, you should be good to go. So let's get started. All right, so bibliographies and works cited pages. I am going to go through how I would do this if I was a student. There's obviously other ways to go about completing this successfully, but I think this is the one that involves the least amount of work, which I'm sure lots of you are interested in. So first, we're going to make a bibliography page. A bibliography gives the citation information for all the sources you consulted during your research. So in this instance, we did 5 source sheets. We looked at 5 sources for our research. So we are going to include all 5 of those sources in our bibliography because we consulted them during our research process. All right. Once we have finished making the bibliography, we are going to copy and paste our bibliographic info into a new document or onto a new page, and then we will change the title to Works Cited and delete the entries that we did not directly use for evidence in our paper. This is because a Works Cited page only gives citation information for sources that you actually directly used in your paper. All right, so there's the big difference. Bibliography, every source that you looked at and read through. Works cited, smaller, every source that you used, referenced, quoted from, whatever it may be, in your actual research paper, all right? So it's kind of like the old adage, all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Everything on the works cited is going to be in the bibliography, but not everything in the bibliography is going to be in the works cited, all right? So hopefully that gives you a little background info on those two different papers and the reasons behind them. So the rules for a bibliography. Well, the first line of the page is simply going to say bibliography and be center aligned. Your last name and a rolling page number would be in the header section in the upper right-hand corner of your paper. All fonts should be size 12 times New Roman, in line with typical MLA standards. The spacing should be set to double. And then you are going to type in 1 space after the bibliography title and then click left align to begin inserting your entries. Some more bibliographic rules. You need to alphabetize your sources A to Z in order. It will be dependent on the last name of the author, so that'll be the first thing in your bibliographic entry. If there is no author, you obviously skipped that part, and the alphabetizing will be dependent on the first word of your source title. So it's all going to be alphabetized A through Z, but it's going to be alphabetized on whatever the first thing is in your entry, whether it's the author's last name or the first letter of the title, depending on whether or not you have an author, okay? You must type the entries in the following format. This is something that we covered when we were creating our source sheets. And if something is missing, meaning if you don't have an author, you just skip that part. You don't put anything there. You just skip it and move on to the next area. So we have last name, first name, title, the container, when it was published, with the day and then the abbreviated month and the year. After that, you are typically going to be moving on to the URL and then the date you accessed the source electronically. So when you looked at it with the abbreviated day, month, and year, okay? So our source sheets, like I said, you should have all of this info if you took the time to fill out the source sheets properly at the beginning of the research process. It should be the last thing on the second page where you ordered all the info that you gathered at the beginning. You ordered it into that format on the last slide. So that is what you're going to be using on your bibliography and your works cited. So if you did that properly and you have that set to go, all you need to do is order those alphabetically, depending on whatever is listed first. And then you need to just to transfer that info into your bibliography. All right, so you've already done this, like Napoleon Dynamite says here. Leave me alone. I've already done it. All right, you just need to work on transferring what you've already done into a new document. Once we have done all of that, all of those steps, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, you're going to go up to the toolbar, you're going to click Insert, you're going to go down from the drop down that appears to Page Break, and it's going to start a new page. Then you are going to copy your entire bibliography and paste it onto that new page. You're going to change the title from Bibliography to Works Cited. You're going to delete the entries of the sources you did not use. You're going to keep the same formatting, keep them in alphabetical order, and then voila, you have a Works Cited page. And that was easy, all right? Magic. So let me demonstrate how to do all of this for you, okay? Because there's a few odds and ends that I did not really cover that are kind of difficult to talk about. It's easier to show you. So this is a sample bibliography Works Cited pages that I created for you as a guide. So as you can see, the bibliography, I have my title up here, bibliography. It's the first line of the paper. And then I highlight that and I click center align. So it shows up in the center of my paper. So it's going to start over here. You're going to center align it. You're going to click enter once and you're going to type in your bibliographic entries in alphabetical order. So notice A, C, D, T, T, W. They're in alphabetical order, all right? I want you to also notice the C up here of the author's last name goes before the D, the first letter of the title, since this does not have an author. So we alphabetize them by the first letter of the entry. It's either going to be the author's last name if there's an author or the beginning of the title, okay? So you don't separate them. You keep them all alphabetized regardless of what the first entry is. It's just all dependent on that first letter. So notice those are in the correct alphabetical order here. Backtracking a little bit, if you double click at the top of your paper, you can get into the header section. Another way to do that would be to go to Insert and then drop down to Page Numbers. You would want to click this one. So you have a rolling page number. You see the 1 and then the 2. It's going to count your pages for you, so you don't need to change the page each time you create a new page. It automatically does it for you, so it keeps track. So you would click that, and then you get that gray number up here in the header. Notice there's a 2 down here, so you're seeing that it's counting one another. And then you're just going to go in front of that and type your last name. Obviously, you're capitalizing your last name because it's a proper noun, specific person, and you just need a space between your last name and the page number. After that, you would highlight everything. You would go to the fonts, and you would scroll all the way down to Times New Roman. These are in alphabetical order, so it's going to be near the bottom unless you have it in your recent. So Times New Roman, and then size 12. Then your header is done. Your rolling page numbers are done. After that, we've typed our title. We're going to click enter once to start our entries. Like I said, we get all those entries put in there. Remember, we want it in that proper order that we talked about on the slides, that order that we practice in our source sheets of last name, first name of the author, the title of the article in quotation marks, then the source. After that, we would have the date. If there's no date, you could put ND or just skip it. Then you have your link. Where can I find this article? It needs to be blue hyperlinked. So if you paste your link into here and it doesn't show up as blue, you can simply highlight it and then go up here to our toolbar again and click Insert Link. And it's going to usually just hyperlink it just like that. If not, if it doesn't just automatically hyperlink it and you click this, you would just need to paste the link into here again. So you'd paste the same link here from here to here. So all three of these would match the thing you've clicked on, the bar that says text, and then the bar that says link. They would all be the same, and then you would click apply. Okay, so usually just clicking that button after you highlight it works, But if it doesn't, that's a little more detailed way to make sure you get that done. So we want that hyperlinked. So the person that's reading it could click on that link to go to that source if they wanted to. After that, you have your date of access, when you looked at it. You have the day, the month abbreviated, so the 3-letter abbreviation with a period, and then the year with a period at the end. Okay, that's how we write the dates with MLA. So that is the works cited entries. The last thing that I want to talk about with these, once you have all your entries written in, I want you to highlight everything all the way up to your title of bibliography. We're going to have Times New Roman. It should be in your recents now. We're going to do size 12 once again, so everything's matching. And then we are going to go to the spacing option here. It's usually defaulted to 1.15. We want to go to double. So those are going to create these spaces. So you can see the difference. It's very easy to tell when it's not double spaced. The reason that we double space things is so there's room for a teacher, professor, reader, whoever to leave comments on your paper. So that's why we do that. Okay, last thing that I want to cover. Highlight each individual entry one by one. You're going to be looking at your ruler up here. So it's probably, your entries are probably going to look a lot like this, where everything is in line, okay? You do not add extra spaces between your entries. Notice, I'm on one entry and I click down one, I'm right into the other. I don't go into a blank space. So you don't add a bunch of extra spaces. I'm just adding these spaces to show you what I'm doing here. So you're going to highlight each individual entry alone. You're going to go up to the ruler. You're going to click on the blue arrow on your ruler, and you're going to slide it from 0.00 to 0.50. So that's half an inch. You're going to slide it. Notice everything in that entry moved from this edge over here, the 0.00 edge, to the 0.15 or 0.5 area over here. So you do that, and then you click the blue line above it. So you can see there's an arrow and then there's a blue line above it. And you're going to make sure that blue line is back at 0.00. So if you wanted to make it a little easier, I just did it that way to show you the difference. You could simply, you can just move the bottom arrow, and then like I said, you're just moving that top line back over. This is what's called a hanging indent. So usually when you press indent or tab, your first line is going to go in half an inch to start a new paragraph, for example. This is the opposite. You're going to have your first line all the way out, and everything else in that entry is indented, called a hanging indent. Everything below the top hangs and indents to the right, okay? The reason that we do this, if everything is in line, like we see here, and all the entries are in line, it's going to be very hard to see which one is which without improperly spacing. So we do this hanging indent. So it's very easy to pick out a new entry. Every time you see a line all the way out, you know that's the beginning of a new entry, and it shows you the top of it or the most important info of the author's name and or the title, okay? So the reason that we do that, once again, is to make it easy to read our bibliography page. And you would simply just do that with every entry. You would highlight the entry. You're starting at 0.00. You move it out, and then you click the blue line above the blue arrow and move that back to 0.00. That way we have the hanging indent. So the beginning of the line, the beginning of the entry is out, and everything beneath it is indented inwards, okay? After that, after you've done that with all of your entries, you would just take everything that you've typed here, highlight it, copy it all the way up from the last part of your last entry all the way to the bibliography title here. And then, so you've highlighted it, you copied it, click right after your last entry. I want you to go up to Insert. You're going down to Break. You're going to say page break. You're going to click enter, and your paper is going to start a new page. So we'll just pretend this is a new page in blank. What you're going to do from there is click at the beginning. You're going to paste, and you're going to get everything that you had up top. You're going to get a second bibliography area. What you're going to do is you're going to delete that bibliography title. And you're going to replace it with the words works cited. Okay? Works cited. That's all you put there. It once again needs to be center aligned, and it needs to be the very top line of your paper. After that, you should have all of your entries perfectly formatted already with the correct information listed in the correct order, the hanging indents already in place, your hyperlinks are blue and ready to go. And then what you're going to do is delete every entry for a source that you did not directly quote from or cite in your paper. So your bibliography is showing your reader all the sources that you used while you researched, everything you looked at while you were gathering information. So it's going to have more sources. And then your works cited is going to show just the entries for sources that you used, that you cited from, okay? You have a citation in your paper that aligns with each one of these sources. At the most, the works cited will have the same amount of info as the bibliography. Otherwise, the works cited is going to have less. It will never have more, okay? So the bibliography is the bigger one at best, and the works cited will either match it or have less entries because you didn't use everything that you researched during your time. So we should still have that rolling page number, change the title, should still have our hanging indents, should still have our hyperlinks. We're still in alphabetical order. We're just deleting any of the entries that we did not directly quote from or cite in our paper, I should say. So that is how to walk through the bibliography and works cited pages for any time you do research or anytime you cite from an outside source. Reference this video whenever it's needed. Not only the steps and the rationale shown in the slides here, but also the tutorial shown here in the sample bibliography and works cited pages. As always, let your teacher know if there's anything they can do to help you, or if there's anything from this video or any concepts related to this that does not make sense, and they will do whatever they can to help you through it and make sure that you are ready to go. Keep up the good work, and thanks for watching.